Imagine a house filled with people, different generations, different personalities, and different opinions, and one important family decision to be made. As a growing child in a joint family, I watched this scene unfold many times. Whenever an important decision would have to be taken, grandfather brought everybody to the living room. He discussed. There could be disagreements, sometimes strong views, sometimes voices would rise, and sometimes silence took over. But everyone had a voice, even my mother and my grandmother. Sometimes, as kids, me and my brother were also included. Everyone had a place and everyone was heard. And then, after listening to all the sides, grandpa and pa would make the final decision. As a little girl, sitting quietly, watching these conversations, I did not know I was already witnessing leadership. I did not know words like inclusion, stakeholder management, or governance that time. But I understood something very early. People follow decisions when they are involved in the decision making, when they are made important, when they are felt heard. And that's what brought me to a question like, why do people trust leaders? Is it just because of the authority, the power, the position, the person, or is it even something deeper? It did not take me too many years to discover this because I discovered this long before I entered a boardroom, I led a team, or held a leadership title. Because the first leaders that I ever met were my grandparents and my parents. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachna Dedia. I'm a customer experience and transformation leader with over 19 years of experience across aviation, automobile, financial services, and consulting. Extensively across all industries, my core forte has always been customer experience, contact centers. That's where my heart and my soul lies. I have believed in transformation, experiential transformation. I have believed in learning throughout. So, my work all these years included experience strategy, experience design, contact center transformation, contact center operations, omni-channel experience design, and now in the AI era, I am learning and delivering AI and digital transformation projects. Apart from all the projects and all the job descriptions that I bring with me, I think what I learned along the way was team leadership. I think that's a skill that I kept learning and I learn even today. While today I have the privilege of leading large scale customer experience transformation initiatives, developing future leaders, and driving innovation across global markets, my professional journey has taken me from a very small customer service executive at a contact center to leadership roles across MNCs. But this story has not been about my titles. It's not about the designations that I held. It's not about the awards that I got. It's not even about the multiple career milestones that I made. But this is a story of a woman who kept reinventing herself, a mother who returned to learning after childbirth, a professional who chose courage over comfort, a mountaineer who learned leadership in the Himalayas, a mentor whose counselees still reach out when they feel stuck, a volunteer who believes that opportunity should not only belong to the privileged. Most importantly, my story is about someone who believes leadership is not about standing above the people, it's standing beside the people and lifting them up. As I mentioned earlier at the start of this conversation, my leadership journey began at home. I witnessed leadership being demonstrated, being lived, and being experienced. I learned about family structures, stakeholder alignments, leadership frameworks, and I experienced leadership being practiced at home. My first experience of a leader would have been a leader from the forefront, somebody like my father or my grandfather who were entrepreneurs and taking big decisions, and the team was leading from behind, who knew they were responsible, they were accountable, and they had to make tough choices. But that's not the only definition of leadership that I learned. My second learning of leadership came from my mother. I learned discipline, I learned courage. Looking at my mother, I understood that leadership is not about titles, it's not about having badges around yourself or trophies in the back end. Just like my mother, she she never had any she never appeared in magazines, she never had a corner office place, she never lived a corporate title, she never stood on stage accepting awards. Yet she remained one of the greatest leaders that I have ever known, because silently, while everybody at the forefront was fighting their own battles, there was a leader sitting at the back, ensuring everything comes together, ensuring people have the right resources to keep them going. They have the right atmosphere, ambience, or the warmth at home to feel relaxed, to feel believed in, to feel motivated. So I think I learned leadership both from the front end and from the back end, and I've seen this happening in many homes. Our mothers are leaders, which we don't really realize. They show up consistently, quietly, selflessly, purposefully every single day. They don't expect us to applaud for them, they expect the world to applaud for us. They don't chase recognition, but they chase contribution. They deliver contribution. They lead without asking for credit. And they consistently show up for us to be seen by the world. Looking back, I realized that my mother taught me the deepest leadership lessons of my life. I learned that true leadership is not always about being seen, it's about being able to make a difference in somebody's life when no one is watching. Long before I had her confidence, she saw the potential. My family, as I mentioned, has been a great contributor in my leadership journey because they saw the possibility which I couldn't. They gave me the opportunities to grow myself. And every success in my life started as a confidence borrowed from my family. Today, as a management consultant, senior manager, facilitator, a mentor, or a leader, I carry those lessons with me. The values that guide my work are empathy, respect, integrity, continuous learning, accountability, humility, and the, the most important of all is believing in your people. Because leadership to me begins with one simple truth: people do not give their best because they are instructed, they give their best only when they are inspired, trusted, and believed in. Like many other young professionals, I did not begin my career with a grand blueprint. My first role was with Jet Airways. I was working in a contact center as a customer service representative, handling calls of customer queries, ticketing, PNR updates, loyalty programs, all of that. I transitioned from there, moved to data analytics within Jet Airways. And at that stage, leadership felt very far away from me. I was just simply trying to do the best every single day. I was learning to speak to customers, I was learning how to solve problems, learning to stay calm, understand patterns, and everything. Around that time, my life gifted me my most important role. I became a mother. My daughter was born. Like many, many women, I faced an important question: how do I balance my aspirations with my responsibility? I chose to take a career break, not because my ambition disappeared, but because my dreams became smaller. Sometimes leadership begins with choosing what matters most at that point in time. During my break, I completed my IATA certification. I have always been a nature lover, a traveler, an adventure freak. So I had dreamt of starting my own travel company. I had the vision, I had the passion, I had the desire. But life had a different plan. That dream never came true. For some time, I felt disappointed. But today, when I look back, I do not see that as a failure. I see that as a bend in the road. And many times, the bend in the road is not the end of the road. It is only life redirecting you towards a different path. That phase taught me a powerful lesson that leadership is not about controlling every outcome. Leadership is about adapting to those outcome changes, being agile, being resilient, not panicking, but finding your way out. Because life does not always give us what we want. Similarly, when I sit in the chair of a leader, there are many multiple external forces that impact my decision. Things don't work the way I plan as a leader for my organization, for my team members, anything. So I think learning to adapt was the skill that I learned. And then I pivoted. And the pivot became the beginning of many, many reinventions that followed. Reflecting on my leadership journey, I think one of the largest pivotal decisions that shaped my leadership philosophy were, let's say, the most pivotal experience was not a single promotion or award or a title. It was a couple of things that came back again and again, and life placed me every time at new base camps. I moved from aviation to automobiles to financial services to consulting. Sometimes the shift was by choice, sometimes because of circumstances. Sometimes it felt like an opportunity, and sometimes it felt like coercion. But every transition forced me to become a beginner again. I worked across automobile customer services. My responsibilities included service operations, lead management, grievance resolution, VOC training, etc., etc. I learned brand experience. Life was comfortable, growth often exists. Then I decided to move into an NBFC. Almost everyone questioned the decision. My friends questioned, family, colleagues, people said, Are you going to the wrong place? You won't survive. But sometimes leadership means believing in yourself when nobody else does. I attended the first interview, second, third, got selected, and finally, I still remember the first day when I walked into the office dressed for a corporate environment, coming right out of a luxury automobile brand. Within a few hours of joining the NBFC, I realized it was a complete cultural misfit. Everything was different: the language, the pace, the expectations, the people, the processes, the mindset, the transition. Oh my God. And there was a brief moment of self doubt, but I had no choice. I had to go on. 6 months later, during my probation discussion, my boss, who was the COO at that time, told me something I will never forget. He said, when he selected me, there were five senior leaders in the office who had objected to the decision. They questioned why someone from outside the industry with no NBFC background was being even given a senior role. He had given me the responsibility of 12 direct reportees, 500 outsourced resources, and six critical customer experience functions. They believed it was a risky choice. But he saw the potential in me. He decided to trust me. And 6 months later, he told me, I'm proud of you. You did not let me down. You proved me right. That moment stayed with me, not because it was validation, it was a completed circle. The strongest leaders are not those who never feel uncertain. The strongest leaders are those who choose courage over comfort. Many years later, when I was in the mountains, I'm an adventure lover and a certified mountaineer. One person loses confidence, another. Leadership is not built in the storm. Leadership is revealed during the storm, but built during the preparation. A transformational initiative and an outcome that I led. Over the years, I've had the privilege of leading customer experience transformations across industries and geographies. My work has included customer experience modernization, transformation, and a lot more. I cannot disclose confidential client details, but I can speak about the nature of the challenge and the kind of the impact that these transformation projects created. The challenge in customer experience is often like standing at the base of the mountain with multiple routes ahead. Customers expect speed, business expects efficiency, team needs clarity, and technology keeps changing. Cost needs to be optimized, but quality cannot be compromised. And leaders must bring all of this together without losing the human side of service. In several transformation programs, the question was, how do we improve customer experience while improving operational efficiency? How do we reduce efforts for customers? How do we enable teams with better tools? Some of the outcomes I'm particularly proud of include driving innovation, automation, initiatives, and generating around 13-15 million dollars savings for my organization, delivering technology in a record breaking time of around 3 to 4 months when the COVID hit, when the landscape of technology changed. But transformation was not just about technology. Technology was only the tool. The people were the engine and the culture was the fuel. Over the years, I've been fortunate to receive several recognitions. I believe around 15 plus recognitions I've got so far. But I think one of the most important recognition that I got was not on the stage. It was again going back to my roots within my family. So while I was working with one of the NBFCs, I had won an award for the customer experience project that I was leading. As a part of that, the award was an industry award and going to be, kind of telecasted on national television. And when I took the award, and when my parents knew that I'm going to be awarded an award on the national television, I think that was the biggest moment for me, for them. People think that the biggest moment was for me was about standing on the stage, but the real award was happening somewhere else at home when my parents were sitting in front of the television, waiting, watching, anxious, proud, and when I appeared on screen, I saw the tears in their eyes. I saw the pride, I saw the joy, I saw the years of sacrifice reflect in one frame. That moment lives in my heart even today. No award can be bigger than that. Because in that moment, I realized success is not individual. Every achievement carries the fingerprints of people who believed in us before we believed in ourselves. The trophy was in my hand, but the victory belonged to many people: my parents, my family, my mentors, my colleagues, my daughter, and my better half. One of the most fulfilling part of the leadership journey is being able to build, mentor, and help other people grow. I've led teams of different sizes, from 5 people to 500 people. Over time, I've realized leadership is not measured by the number of people who report to you. It's measured by the number of people who grow because of you. Today, as a faculty, as a facilitator, enabling consulting programs within my organization, I had opportunity to train campus joiners, consultants, managers, and future leaders. I facilitated a few residential programs for campus joiners and lateral hires, including experiential learning sessions built around role plays, business scenarios, and stimulations. Every time I stand in front of a group as a faculty, I think about my learnings from childhood. The next thing that I also understood is leadership is just not about titles or about office. Leadership cannot stay inside locked office walls or just on a chair that you sit. Leadership needs to travel. It must reach people who may never sit in our meetings, people who may never work in our organizations, people whose lives may change because someone decided to contribute. As a part of my leadership journey, I have been actively volunteering at Skill India, teaching the underprivileged people certain skills like Excel, time management, English, and a few others. I am also a volunteer at iTeach, where I train people to be interview ready, the underprivileged students to be business ready, to be corporate ready, certain business etiquette skills that they need to know before they join a corporate. I also teach English to them. And I also volunteer sometimes at Robin Hood Army Academy, where we teach the underprivileged students from the slums the importance of education. We teach them English, we teach them basic life skills. So I have an opportunity to contribute to the learning, growth, and empowerment of the underprivileged as well. These experiences remind me that leadership is a service. It's not about strategy decks, boardrooms, or business outcomes. Leadership is helping build someone else's confidence. Difficult leadership decisions was choosing comfort, was choosing not comfort, choosing growth over comfort. Leaving a familiar industry, moving into a completely different one is not easy. Moving from luxury automobiles to financial services tested me deeply. It tested my confidence, my adaptability, my identity. Everything was different, the terrain, the mountain, the weather, everything. But I couldn't fail. So I kept learning, I kept relearning, and learning is a continuous part of life for me. The hardest lesson of life that I learned is when life tested me beyond work, when health took over, and I had to prioritize health over everything else. I would want to give some advice to the people aspiring to step into leadership roles. To every woman, basically, I would say don't wait until you feel ready. Nobody feels completely ready. Not for the promotion, not for the new role, not for the boardroom, not for the career transition. Confidence does not always come before action. Many times, confidence comes because you start taking actions. Take a seat at the table, use your voice, ask questions, accept the opportunity, and the most important thing is learn continuously. Keep upskilling yourself, learn periphery skills, some technology skills as well, because today we are in the AI era and that's a non-negotiable now. Continuous learning is a must if you want to be a part of the leadership. If you want to lead people, you need to learn, and learn. Don't be underconfident. Create space, open the doors, go ahead and speak out loud. People often ask what legacy I want to leave behind. The answer is simple. I don't want my legacy to be only the projects that I delivered, or the awards that I won, or the positions that I held, or the size of teams that I have led. For me, to the people, my legacy would be the people whose lives have become better because of me, the professionals who discovered confidence because of me, the leaders who discovered purpose, the teams that could discover possibility and courage to, to contribute to large scale projects, the young professionals who learned to speak. The only thing that I want to hear, or I aspire to hear someday, is because of Rachna, I believed I could do more. become more and achieve more. I think that would be the greatest legacy I can hope for, because every success in my life started as a confidence borrowed from my family. And if I can help borrow confidence from me until they discover their own, then every stage in this journey will have be its worth. Today, when I look back on my journey, I see a young girl from Mumbai who learned leadership around family decisions. I see a daughter who learned courage from her father, learned purpose from her mother, a mother who returned to education after childbirth. I see a professional who reinvented herself across industries, a learner who never stopped growing, a mountaineer who learned that no one reaches the summit alone. You need a team, you need a path. Above all, I see proof that leadership is not a destination. Leadership is a lifelong journey of learning, serving, evolving, empowering. Leadership is standing beside people long enough until they discover they can fly on their own. So when I think of Herkey's leader category, leading the way, I do not think of leading from the front alone. I think of lightening the way, walking with others. Because the summit is meaningful only when the journey lifts others too. Thank you.